Okay, we are back after a little hiatus for episode 43 of the Ricky Henderson podcast, the greatest of all podcasts, GOAP. Glad to have GOAP OG Martín Gallegos on here. Thanks a lot for coming back, man. How you doing?
Hey, Alex, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me again. It's been a while.
Yeah. So again, Martin's A's beat writer for MLB.com. He's been riding the wave since February. But dude, so it's Wednesday morning. The A's have lost the first two games of this four-game set against the Mariners. They've lost seven straight against Seattle. Why can't they crack Seattle, dude? What is it? Like you look at their team and you're like, who are these guys? And then the A's can't beat them, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, we wonder the same thing. I mean, it's like they play the same game over and over again too.
Yeah.
Especially the last 2 days, it's literally been identical. I mean, they get down early, A starter doesn't go that deep and gives up a couple early runs. And then on the other side, on the offense, the A's can't really muster anything against the Mariners starter. And then they get to the bullpen, and it's just lackluster to the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
They get
I don't
like two
know.
hits the last few
Yeah,
innings or something like that. It's
yeah.
crazy, dude. It's like this. Yeah, it's crazy how it's like the same game every single time. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, you look at the Mariners pitching, and it's like there's not really any like notable names there. I mean, Marco
Yeah.
Gonzalez yesterday, I mean, he's been solid, but I
Yeah.
mean, they don't have any like people that you would classify as like world beaters. But I mean, it seems like this lineup just doesn't have an answer. Like they don't know,
Yeah.
how to break through against this pitching. They'll hit like maybe a couple of solo homers like yesterday, but they can't really string together like rallies, especially as the game goes on later. It seems like the at bats just keep getting worse and worse, and that's been a pattern against them all season.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I just don't know. Like I was looking on Baseball Reference, I was like, literally, who are their top players? And like by WAR, it's Ty France, J.P. Crawford, and Chris Flexen. So it's not like they're like some heavy hitters. Like, and it's crazy. They have the same record as the A's, so obviously they're doing something right.
Yeah.
uh, and so, do you think the A's are done? I mean, we were just talking a little bit off camera. I mean, basically, the A's have to go 9-2 or 10-1 the rest of the way, and then hope that the Yankees and the Blue Jays play around. They have to. I think they have to go 5-6 because if they either go 6-5, like the Blue Jays and the Yankees, they both hold the tiebreaker over the A's. So, I mean, I know it's not done yet, but do you feel like it's just kind of marching towards that at this point?
I mean, it feels like, I mean, the momentum is definitely, not in their favor. I mean,
Yeah,
you look at just their record overall against teams above 500, and it's been terrible. And they got to play
yeah,
all teams above 500. Mariners, we know how difficult they are. The Astros, we know the troubles that they bring to this team. So, I mean, it's not, they're not officially out of it, but I mean, it's going to take something remarkable for them
yeah,
to to overcome what they're facing right now.
yeah. And if they do miss the playoffs, do you think it's fair to like go all the way back to last offseason and look at the lack of investment? Like, I would just kind of playing devil's advocate and like if they sign Hendricks, if they sign Semien, their salary would be like around 125 million, I think, and the league average is like 130. I mean, do you think like this is just kind of a result of when you don't kind of like restock, or I don't know, bring those guys back,
Well, yeah, I mean, it becomes a worse look when you look at, Hendricks and Simeon, what they've done this year. Both have been
Yeah, they're so
all-star,
good. Yeah,
lights out players. And you'll go back and look at the offseason, and I think everyone kind of knew Hendricks would be gone. I mean, he was so good
yeah,
that there was going to be so many people after him. But with a guy like Marcus Semien, I think we all thought if there was one guy that could resign, might be him. And I mean, we all know the story, what happened there with the offer that they made, and
yeah,
didn't bring him back, and it's obviously his loss has been felt huge, and
yeah,
um, I mean, he partially could be responsible for ending the A season. I mean, that series they lost in Toronto and they got
yeah.
swept that might have been one of the big turning points in the season, because you
I
look at
think
where they
so
are
too.
now, they're three behind Toronto, and they
Yeah,
got swept in 3 games against Toronto, and that kind of flipped the momentum of both teams' season. Going into that series, Toronto was kind of, on the ropes a little bit, kind of hanging in there, wondering if they're going to be legit playoff contenders. That sweep really gave them life, and they've been hot ever since.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I was thinking the A's have had some really tough losses this year, but I still think that Semien loss that's got to be the worst loss of the year. Just like everything that, I mean, what they were up 8-2, right, and then they tied it again, and then the Semien hits that. I mean, it's so crazy, dude. Like so crazy. Um, and then I also think it's interesting that Cole Irvin is like, so Cole Irvin's pitching tonight for the Mariners. or against the Mariners. And he's like public enemy. Did you know he's like all the Mariners fans hate him? I didn't realize this till his last start. I saw some article. Did you know that?
Yeah, you know what, I think it was, when he said those comments, like I never even like thought anything about it. And then when they went to Seattle, I was there, and then a bunch of the Seattle writers came up to me and were like, "Hey, is Cole Irvin gonna like say anything this time about the Mariners?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
I didn't know that till like a couple months later, and I saw all these Mariners fans on Twitter like, "Oh, that's what you get, Cole Irvin, for
oh, yeah,
talking shit or whatever." I was like, "What?" And then,
yeah,
dude,
they hate him. They
well,
hate him.
dude, I went back and read that quote. I thought, yeah, I guess it was pretty bad. I don't know. He said, I think at the end of the day, just Pick's execution needs to be better, and a team like that should not be putting up 10 hits against me or anyone. I'm
Yeah,
extremely disappointed in my efforts. So now Mariners fans hate him. And I thought it's funny. He's given up like 2 hits per inning against them, and like he has 0-3 at 8.49 ERA. So he has like his worst numbers against anybody against the Mariners.
he's
So
been bad against them, and each start against them has been worse and worse. I mean, the last one I think was really bad.
yeah.
They came out like crushing them first couple of innings. So
So I think there's
yeah,
some extra juice there, dude. I think there's some extra drama. I think the Mariners like really out to get him, dude. But
might be, might be.
I mean, isn't it crazy? Like just overall through looking at the whole season, like how good of a pickup Cole Irvin was for a cash consideration guy. And now I think I heard he's like in the top 10 in the American League in ERA or something like that. I mean, just how good has Irvin really been to stabilize this rotation, especially, I know he's had some ups and downs, but how good of a pickup has Irvin been this year?
Yeah, I mean, I look up at the scoreboard yesterday, and his ERA is still sub 4, and I was like, wow, it's a pretty impressive season he's put together, especially given his recent struggles to still have like a 3.91 or something ERA. So, I mean, he had a kind of a stretch through the middle of the season where he was really consistent. Like you knew what you were going to get out of him every time out.
Yeah.
And I mean, going into the spring training, I mean, none of us thought he was going to make the rotation. I mean, we thought at best he could be like a bullpen piece, but he'd probably start the year in AAA. We thought, Dalton Jeffries or AJ Puck could be, in line for that number 5 spot. And, he impressed well. I mean, I remember that last start in spring training, he dominated against the Dodgers, and that kind of punched his ticket to the opening day roster. And, right away just established himself, because after that, I mean, even when he was in the rotation, he himself basically said like, yeah, I know I'm not going to be here for that long, basically until Mike Fiers comes back. And, other stuff happened in the rotation, and he was able to stick in there. And I mean, he's given him really good work. I mean, he's kind of been like when Brett Anderson was here a couple of years ago, kind of similar, output where nothing really fancy, but I mean, he goes out there and not really much this month, but for most of the season has given them, put them in position to win pretty much every time he goes out.
Yeah, he eats innings, and it just seems like he's in control when he's pitching, especially when he gets in that rhythm and everything. Like it's kind of crazy. And I was just looking it up right now. It's crazy. The A's actually have 4 out of the top 10 in the American League for ERA, and Bassitt still qualifies. So yeah, it's crazy. So Bassett's at like 3rd in the league. Frankie's at 5th, and then Irvin and Manaea are 9th and 10th. So that's crazy, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how cool is it that Bassitt is coming back? I mean, I thought KD was going to be like the best comeback story of the year, but I think Bassitt, I mean, it's only been like, a month and 5 days, and he's going to be in there tomorrow. It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, nobody thought, we thought maybe he'd come back for maybe 1 start, or at the end of the season, maybe he might get 2 starts here, which is crazy to think of. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that he would barely, was able to eat solid food and barely able to do like normal walking the dog type stuff. And now, he's worked his way back into the rotation. I mean, just shows you what type of guy he is. I mean, from the very beginning, he was like, yeah, I'm going to come back. That's just kind of his mentality. He's just, a guy with a lot of determination. So, it doesn't really, surprise you that he is back based on, the way he was talking immediately after. He never like doubted that this moment would come. So it's really cool. I mean, I know it's going to be a really cool moment, especially to be, coming at home, at the Coliseum on Thursday, to be able to get one more start in front of the home fans. And, I mean, at this point, I mean, the A's could get any boost they can. I'm sure they'll get a little bit of motivation from seeing their all-star ace back on the mound and trying to will them a victory for however long he pitches. I don't know what the pitch count will be or anything like that, but it'll be, I think, an emotional boost just to see him back on the mound again.
Yeah, and I know when a lot of basketball players, when they break their nose, they have like, like a plastic guard. Is he gonna have any facial? As far as I know, he's just gonna go out there, right? Like he's like, is he
Yeah.
gonna have anything or no? Like, do you
Yeah,
know?
no, it sounds like it. We asked him if he had like even looked into that. He said not really.
That's crazy, dude. He's just like so nonchalant about it to me, which I think is bizarre. Like he just coming back like he hurt his shoulder or something. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely. I mean, he said that like he doesn't really remember the impact, which I guess is a good thing. I mean, he doesn't remember like he remembers before it and after it when he like went to the hospital. So, I mean, if you could block that out of your mind, I guess it's a good thing.
And he hasn't watched a replay of it or anything. He
Yeah,
wasn't playing on it, right? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he feels comfortable going back out there this quickly, then I mean, I guess that's a positive. You don't want to go out there feeling nervous about that possibly happening again. I think it's human instinct to feel that way,
Yeah,
but
that's the first thing I think. It was like, dude, aren't you worried? Like, is it really worth? Like, I don't know. Like, don't you want to wait till maybe next?
right.
Give yourself a mental break. But I guess that's why I'm
Yeah,
not a pro athlete. you know?
no, these guys they're different, man. They're built
Yeah,
different.
dude. But I mean, you guys are around the team now and stuff. You guys, especially for home games, it seems like you guys have more access. Like, you guys can kind of BS with the players. How nice is it to have? Have you noticed a difference with him and KD back around the guys? Like, especially KD. Like, how nice is it for the team to have KD back?
Yeah, no, I mean they all kind of knew that when he got back in the organization, I think they all were hoping that at some point he would make his way back up here. I don't know if they thought it was that realistic, but then obviously he went on that tear in AAA and forced his
Yeah,
way back.
yeah,
But I know they're excited for him to be back. I know he's happy to be back. I mean, just I saw him in Toronto. It was like right after he got called back up, and it seemed like he was like truly just like
yeah,
grateful to be back because I don't think he thought he would be back here, at least not this year.
yeah.
Maybe
This
I
soon.
think I think he probably looked at it like I put together a good showing to end the season in the minors, and then earn my way back in spring training next year or something. But for him to be back, I think he's really just grateful to get another shot here. And I mean, he's performed nicely. I mean, he hasn't homered yet, but I mean, he's driving the ball and he's picked up some nice hits here in a short amount of time. And I think he's kind of showing that there's definitely still baseball left in the tank. And
Yeah, he's hitting a lot of doubles. It seems like he hits a
yeah,
lot of doubles, which is and like he's hitting some to the right field gap, which is always a good sign. So yeah.
yeah. And I know, like again, being reunited with all these guys that he played with for so long, I think it's definitely I think he's definitely, rejuvenated by that as well, seeing a lot of old faces again and being around the clubhouse, being around the guys again.
And just for you as a reporter, has it been kind of like nice to just even have that access and like talk to players and just BS with players and stuff like that? I mean, does it feel kind of like return to normalcy for reporters too this
Oh
season?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been great to be back on the field again and being able to talk to guys and BP and all that. It's still kind of tough. It's not, exactly like being able to go in the clubhouse and talking one-on-one on guys. I think
Yeah.
with batting practice, it's a little difficult at times because it seems like players, always got somewhere to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
They got to
Yeah.
come back into the clubhouse and you
Yeah.
kind of at times got to get lucky and grab them at the right time. But
Yeah.
it's definitely cool. I mean, we definitely are able to, talk to guys a little more and, one-on-ones on the field. And it's been, I mean, it's obviously, I mean, you want that, you want to build that
Yeah.
rapport with guys. And so it's been a little bit better than it was obviously since last year. I mean, we'll take this in a heartbeat. I mean, it's been a lot more better in terms of access, not strictly just Zoom stuff and having
Yeah.
Bob Melvin, being able to talk to Bob Melvin in the dugout again is it feels, that's the time of the day where it feels like most normal again, just being able to talk to him in the dugout again. So
Yeah.
it's kind
That's
of
cool.
slowly getting back to what we were.
Yeah, who's like the easiest player to BS with, or who do you enjoy like talking with the most? Is there some player who like you have a good rapport with, or is there some guy you can chop it up with pretty good, or who is that?
There's a
Yeah,
few guys. I think me and Tony Kemp like to talk about our, addiction to shoes lately. Like we got into
yeah.
Jordans at the
Is he
same
a big
time.
shoehead? Yeah,
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 yeah. We both got into
yeah,
Jordan
yeah,
Jordan ones like at the same time, like
yeah.
during the pandemic, and so we're talking about like what kind of shoes we're gonna get next. Talked about like the Drake album dropping, like the favorite songs.
Yeah, yeah,
Which one's he's gonna use as his walk-up song. So Yeah, he's a good guy to talk to. Petit's always been a guy that I always like kind of talk to every day, just about, baseball stuff.
You guys talking in Spanish or English? What are you guys talking in?
Yeah, no, I always talk to him in Spanish. He
That's
won't let
cool.
me talk to him in English. He'll like
That's hella funny, dude. Yeah,
I talk to him in English, so
that's
I gotta
cool.
talk to him in Spanish. But yeah, there's a few
Yeah,
guys like that. Yeah, I mean it's a good group. Like they're all like really approachable. I mean, there's no
yeah,
like
yeah.
bad guys on this team. So I mean that I think that's always been a
Sure, yeah,
characteristic about this team. They're all always kind of, willing to talk and don't really like try to big league you or anything. So that's always nice.
yeah. And I mean, it's crazy. Like this whole season's. It seems like the season just started, but it's pretty much over. At the beginning of the year, you said Matt Olson would put up like MVP numbers, and he's backed you up. He hit 37 dinger last night. He's got, I think 103, 104 RBIs, something like that. Um, are you? I guess not surprised, but I mean, this is what you called. But is it impressive to see that he's actually sustained this production for the whole? He hasn't really. I mean, he has obviously every hitter has some slumps, but he hasn't really tailed off all 6 months.
Yeah, no, I mean he's been consistent all year. I mean, he's been the one constant in that lineup. I mean, that you put him in that number 3 spot and you just could leave him there. I mean, he's gonna do something to help you win a ball game most nights. Here in this last month, he did kind of hit a little bit of a slump, but
Yeah.
I mean, he was so good for so long. And even after the All-Star break, I mean, everyone was kind of worried about, is the home run derby going to mess up his swing? But he came out of the All-Star break super hot. So he's just been really good all year. And then combined with the defense he brings at first base, I mean, he's definitely going to get MVP votes. I mean, it's
Yeah, I think he's
definitely going to come down
Yeah.
to Vlad and Otani and see, between those two who wins it. But I think Matt Olson definitely a top 5. I mean, he's been
I think
so
so
good.
too. I think he'll be like a top 5 vote. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
great all year.
Yeah. And do you think him and Chappie get gold gloves again this year? I think Chapman will. I don't know. I obviously it's kind of hard. Obviously, you watch one team, you probably more locked into one team than everybody else. But do you think Chapman and Olsen have a chance of winning gold gloves again this year?
I think Chapman definitely wins it.
Yeah. I think
I
so
was
too.
joking. I was joking yesterday that Olsen, since he's good on offense again, that he'll get the Gold Glove because it's an
Just because, yeah.
like
That's
they
what
look
always
the
happens.
offensive numbers like
Like Salvi
wow.
Perez is gonna get the gold glove for catcher just because he has 45 homers or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, Olsen's been good. I mean, he's had some like random errors here and there, but I mean, his
Yeah.
scoops are crazy. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's something to account for that when you're looking at the analytical numbers and all that. But I mean, he's great. I mean, I don't know. Evan White won it last year, I guess. So maybe it comes down to those two to see who wins it again this year. I haven't looked at Evan White's, overall defensive numbers. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know. It's hard to watch everybody else's defense when you're just watching one team all
Right.
day long.
Yeah.
And what do you make of James Caprillion season? I mean, he kind of got yo-yoed. I know it was like some extenuating circumstances too, but were you surprised that they even consider moving him to the bullpen in the first place and not like Paul Blackburn or something like that? And and are you encouraged by the way he responded in Anaheim?
Yeah, I know. He was like one of the big surprises of the year, especially that first half to like settle in as that, fifth
He
starter.
was so good. Yeah, he was so
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
I mean, he was on pace to be like rookie of the year candidate, and then he kind of tailed off. I think definitely fatigue, has affected him. He's never thrown close to this many innings. But he's battled. I think that's the best characteristic he has. I mean, I enjoy that about him. He clearly like knows he's not going out there with his best on a given day, especially here recently, but he battles and somehow gets through like 5 innings and is somewhat still in the ball game. I mean, he's not like getting shelled out there. So I think with him going to the bullpen, I think that was more just if, assuming it's between him and Blackburn going to the bullpen. I think you like having a guy like Caprillion stuff in the bullpen a little bit more, going in the late innings. Maybe he could be like a multi-inning, late inning guy as opposed to Blackburn. He's, stuff, not really power stuff. So you got to rely on him, pitching to contact a little more. And whereas Caprillion could kind of rack up strikeouts at times, but that's kind of the competitor he is. I think he was definitely upset by them even considering moving to the bullpen, and he responded in that Anaheim start. So, who knows what's going to happen here going forward? Bassett's going to pitch in his spot, and what happens with Caprillion next is kind of up in the air. He could kind of piggyback out of the bullpen, but he's like a true competitor. That's like the thing I've noticed about him is like he goes out there and like is super hard on himself if he's not, pitching to his capabilities. And I think this is only the beginning for him. I mean, as he gets more comfortable in the majors, I think he's going to be a really good starter. Maybe not a number one guy, but he's going to be like a really good 2-3 guy for a
I
long
think so
time.
too. Yeah, I was gonna say like between him and Jeffries, just like the development they've shown. I'm sure Jeffries wanted to do more this year, but I mean, do you feel like they're set up pretty well? I mean, between Irvin and Jeffries and Caprillion, they have some, they have some known quantities in the rotation going ahead.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, with Caprillion, I mean, yeah, he's going to be great. He's going to be really good, I think,
I,
for a long time. Jeffries
yeah, I think
has
next year
shown,
is like the beginning of like
yeah,
something special for Caprillion. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And Jeffries, I think, really showed himself that he brought himself confidence that he can pitch in the majors, with that stint he had in the bullpen where he was really good and getting his first win in Anaheim earlier this year. So I think that's going to be good for him going forward as well. And I mean, the wild card also there is AJ Puck. I mean, he had a rough go of it in the bullpen. I think they're trying to convert him back to a starter in Vegas now, and he'll enter spring training hopefully healthy. And
yeah,
maybe that's when he finally gets to move into the rotation. I mean, maybe just kind of going back and forth from bullpen to starting this year could have kind of had an effect on him. But he'll get a chance to start, I think, at some point here, because I think ultimately that's what the A's still want him to do. So, I mean,
yeah.
between those three guys, you have a pretty good, solid young core, and obviously you'll have a couple of the starters from this year coming back as well. So, I think they're pretty set up in terms of how the rotation would work out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then yeah, I think Frankie Minaya and Monta should all be around next year too,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, I was just curious. I was looking at Luzardo's number, dude. He's getting lit up with Miami too. He's got like 70 ERA. He's got like 9 homers and 48 RBIs. I hope he figures it out down there. But
Yeah.
honestly, yeah, I don't know. I mean, so I kind of want to talk about the new guys. Do you think? I think Marte's. I don't think there's any way. I think I was reading an article. I think Mark Bowden, I forget how to say it, or Bowman, excuse me. He was writing for the Athletic, and he even listed the A's as a possible desk. Like the A's could keep him. I don't think there's any way they're going to be able to afford him, right? He's going to get paid. I mean, he
Yeah.
leads the league in average and stolen bases. Like he's going to get paid fat this year, right? Like he's gone, right?
It feels that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't just based on, the way the A's have gone about recent off seasons, you don't think that they're going to be even anywhere close. I'm sure they would love to bring him back. And I think Marte
Yeah.
has enjoyed his time here as well. I really think he likes this group, but I mean, he's going to get so many offers from so many different teams
Yeah.
for a lot of money that, I mean, I don't see a way that he comes back, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, but I think the best player who has a chance to come back next year is Josh Harrison, and I think a lot of A's fans will like him to come back. I was surprised to see he's only making $1 million this year. He's been dealing with injuries, but just looking at second base next year, I feel like they could pitch to him like, "Yo, you could pretty much be our everyday second baseman." Looks like he had a lot of fun here. Do you feel like there's a possibility that Harrison could actually come back and be within their price range?
I would think so. I mean, I think they definitely would explore that avenue. He's
Yeah,
such a, I mean, valuable piece. Just
yeah,
with his ability, he could play all around the
yeah.
infield. And,
Melvin loves those kind of guys. Yeah,
yeah, and he can play outfield as well, and he's really hit well. I mean, you look at everyone. You look at Marte's stats, and they've been crazy. But I mean, you look at the way Harrison's hit since he joined the A's, and his numbers have been great too. And he's established himself as the leadoff guy here. Ever since Mark Canha kind of started slumping, he moved into that spot, and he's ran away with it with the way he's been able to kind of provide a jolt there at the top of the lineup. And I mean, you mentioned the energy and everything. I mean, he's just like a guy who really just seems to fit in here seamlessly with this
yeah,
group of A's. I think he's gonna. I mean, the way he's
yeah.
playing, he's probably gonna generate a little bit more interest than you probably originally thought to get. But
Yeah, he's hitting 295. Yeah, and that's
yeah.
crazy in today's game. Yeah,
But in
yeah,
terms of more realistic target, I think he's definitely a guy who's a little more realistic in terms of maybe they could bring back.
uh-huh.
See what he prefers. I know he's an East Coast guy, so I don't know. Maybe you might want to go back east, but
Yeah,
I think if the A's present him with something that is attractive, I think he definitely would consider it. I think he definitely another guy who we see it all the time. Guys join this team and they kind of fall in love with the whole vibe here. I think he's a guy who certainly has
yeah.
enjoyed his time in Oakland to this
Yeah, I
point.
just love the way he high steps and like he just is always having fun. He's like playfully talking crap with the other team all the time. Like I love the way Josh Harrison plays, dude. And I think fans here appreciate him too.
Yeah.
And then Chafin, I was looking his price. So I was looking, he has like a $5.25 million mutual option next year. I don't know. Do the A's shell out that much money for an eighth inning guy? I know most other teams would, but do the A's? And do you think Chafin would even want to come back? I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's both. I mean, both sides. You
yeah,
got to see what
yeah. I don't
happens
really
there.
know.
But
Yeah,
I mean, I think the A's would. I think if there's one thing they have, spent money on over the past few off seasons, it's actually been relievers.
yeah,
Going back to like Joaquin Soria, they kind of gave him a pretty big offer with bringing Jake Diekman back. They've shown that they,
uh-huh.
Rosenthal last year, so they I think they value, going out and getting like reliable veteran bullpen arms. And I mean, Chafin's been like arguably the top left-handed reliever in baseball this year. He's had
Yeah.
only like a handful of games where he's like been really bad. Unfortunately, it's come in critical spots for the A's, but I mean, he's really good. You're not going to find many lefty options better than him. So if you could bring him back on that $5 million option, I mean, that I
I
would do
think
that
they
in a
should.
heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah. I
It
think they
just
should. Yeah,
obviously being mutual, you also got to see what Chafin wants to do. Maybe he thinks, I've been so good this year, I'm going to get a bigger offer somewhere else. So
yeah,
maybe they kind of got to negotiate for a little bit more or something. I think, I mean, it seems like he was born to be an Oakland A with his.
yeah. His mustache and the dude,
So
yeah. One
I mean,
thing I noticed is he never wears stirrups. Like when they wear the Kelly Greens, he wears the solid dark green. And I've always want to ask him, like, dude, you got to do the stirrups to complete the look. I don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he's got an interesting look out there. Like he like wears the opposite socks of what the jersey is that day. Like they wear the Kelly Greens and he'll wear like the forest green
Yeah.
socks. It's random.
I think he's anti-stirrup for some reason. It's too bad.
Yeah,
And then the last guy is Jan Gomes. He signed to $6 million this year. He had a pretty decent year. He might be in the same ballpark for the same, maybe a $5-6 million contract next year. Do you think the A's explore keeping him or just let Austin Allen kind of, take over that? And Austin Allen's a lefty, I
yeah.
know there's a lot of question marks about his defense, but do you feel like, by next spring, maybe Austin Allen, they'll just go that route as opposed to re-signing a veteran backup catcher?
Yeah, I think probably Gomes would probably be, I mean, for the role that he would have, it's probably going to cost too much. I mean, you
Yeah.
probably don't want to spend that much money on a backup. He's been really good. I mean, especially for the young pitchers, I think he's been a great resource.
Yeah. He's almost like even like surpassed. I haven't looked at the games played lately, but it seems like he's playing more often than Murphy, honestly, a little bit lately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They've faced a lot of lefties too recently, so he's been in there a lot. But he's been really good. I think he fit in right away and has helped out the pitching staff a lot with his like knowledge of the game. His knowledge of the game is great. I'm just like the way he studies. It kind of reminds me of when they had Jonathan Lucroy and just his veteran leadership, veteran presence. I think he's been a better hitter than Lucroy was at that point in his career. But he's probably going to sign somewhere else. I would think for more of a maybe more of a platoon role where he would play a little bit more than he would play here, because it seems like the A's still believe that even though Murphy is kind of had a down year on offense, that long term he's still going to be the guy who could
Yeah.
potentially they think he could be an all-star one day. So
Yeah.
I think they're going to return to him getting kind of the bulk of the workload, and probably going with, they have a few catchers in the minors who they could kind of use, the guys like even better other veteran guys like Carlos Perez and stuff. So they'll have options there to kind of fill that void.
All right. I got like three big burning questions to wrap this thing up. Is there any way at all the A's consider bringing back Marcus Semien this offseason, or is he just played himself way at the hell out of their price range? Like he's going to be making 20 mil a year for multiple years, kind of a deal.
Yeah, no, I think
That ship
gonna
has
get
sailed.
he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get paid somewhere else. I think he's gonna come back to the West Coast, honestly, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be somewhere else. I don't know if it's gonna be. It could be one of the California teams. I mean, could be maybe up north in Seattle. I don't know what they're thinking, but I think he's gonna come somewhere out west. But I mean, he's gonna get paid, and deservedly so. I mean, he's having a monster year. I mean,
Yeah, 40 homers or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he deserves every dollar he's gonna get. I mean, he
Yeah.
seriously you know, you see guys all the time kind of take a chance on themselves, the 1-year deals. And he, I mean, is the epitome of a guy who took a chance and is going to get rewarded for it.
Yeah,
So
changed positions, moves all the way over there. Like, yeah, I'm happy for
yeah.
him, dude. Yeah. And how long do you think Bob Melvin is going to be the manager for the A's? Like, I know it seems like he kind of has carte blanche, like kind of as long as he wants to do it. But I know there was reports that him and the Mets might go. Everything runs its course at some point. How long do you see Bob Melvin being manager for the A's?
Yeah, it's interesting. He only has, I think they gave him the extension, but it's only for 1 year.
For
So,
next year, yeah, yeah.
um, and the way this season has gone, I don't think it's his fault that they're probably not going to I don't think it's his fault. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but,
Yeah.
you know, if he wants to stick around, I'm sure the A's would like gladly just tell him, hey, here's another, 1 or 2 year deal. And
Yeah.
he can go out there again. I think does he want to go anywhere else? I mean, does he feel like for his legacy or whatever that he wants to go out? I mean, he's getting kind of up there in age. I mean, he seems like a young guy, but he's actually, pretty up there in age as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much. He's never really said a certain, age that he wants to manage to. So that comes into play as well. But I think he's definitely comfortable here. So
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
definitely tell that part of it. So, I mean, if the A's, as long as the A's want to keep him in the organization, I think they would want him. That Mets thing was interesting. I don't know how much. I don't know how
Yeah. I know.
really that has. It seems like
Yeah.
kind of like just kind of random throwing
Just
stuff on the
speculation,
wall.
right? Yeah.
I don't think there's anything really concrete there to this point, but I think as long as he wants to manage the A's, I think will keep him around. I don't think they'd want to let him go because I mean he's kind of like the face of this franchise at this point because he's been the one guy who's been there while the players have kind of come and gone. He's kind of led teams to the playoffs with different faces all the time.
Yeah. All right. And last one. Do you think it's possible that either of the Mats get traded this offseason?
That's going to be interesting, because based on, what happened with the pandemic and stuff, I think budget stuff is really going to be tight. Salary, payroll, I don't know how much they can really add. And I mean, they have to kind of make a decision where do they think they can keep a window open to win in the next couple of years, or do they want to like rebuild or start a rebuild and get a big package for one of these guys? I mean, I know Matt Chapman has had a down year a little bit, but I guarantee you there's teams out there who would love to have him,
especially the way he's swung like the second half of the season. I feel like maybe his hip has kind of got back or whatever, or like he kind of looks like the old Chappie again, dude.
He seems to be healthy again. So I don't know if it's a strong possibility. I think it's possible that
they listen to offers, right? Like they probably listen to offers at least, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like highly likely that it happens. I would probably say it probably won't happen, but I think you're definitely going to see like probably rumors out there, and some would probably be substantiated that hey, this team is checked in on Matt Chapman or something, and we'll see if anything comes of it. But I think it's getting to that point where they're going through arbitration and they're going to get really expensive too. And we've seen that in years past, when guys start to get expensive in arbitration, sometimes, they go the route of, trading a certain guy. So we'll see how that goes. But
Olson's about to get a huge pay raise, dude. That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, they got a lot of guys going through arbitration. I mean, Chris Bassitt, Sean Manaea. So, I mean, the payroll is going to have to keep going up regardless. So that's going to be tricky for them to handle.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, who knows, man? I really think that this offseason there's going to be some. Yeah, they're at a crossroads. It's coming up. Like, if it doesn't work, if they go on some miracle run this year, who knows? It's a whole different conversation. But it looks like they're going to have to really look at themselves in the mirror. Like, all right, what are we doing here? So, all right, dude. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the year. You can always read his stuff at athletics.com. Martín Gallegos. Martín, thank you so much, dude.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.